Today we got a glimpse of how life might look once we reach our vaccine targets, with Premier Daniel Andrews warning unvaccinated people could be locked out of events or venues. Overall, vaccination numbers across Victoria were down slightly yesterday, but more than 78,000 came forward for the jab. So we're nearly at 59% of people over 16 with a first dose. 36.6% are fully vaccinated. It comes as Victoria records another jump in cases, more than 200 for the first time in more than a year. And a third person has died in this outbreak, a man in his 60s from Altona North. As playgrounds around the state reopen today, the Premier says there could be more restrictions eased once we get enough jabs in arms. Dana Morse has the story.
These kids are ready to get back into the swing of things.
Well, it's very good that the playgrounds are open. I've been super bored at home doing nothing.
Really nice, because now I don't have all that work on my back.
Parents and children alike are thrilled to see playgrounds reopened.
This morning when I got to say that we're going to the playground, they were just like, really? Like their little eyes lit up. So it's such a small thing, but in their little worlds it makes a huge difference.
And the bigger world could be starting to open up a little sooner. The state is ahead of schedule for the 70% first dose vaccination target, and the Premier is making plans for how reopening the state could work.
What will, I think, become a bigger part of our response is a lock-out of many, many venues for those who are not vaccinated.
Trials for a vaccine passport system may begin in regional areas as early as next week. Halving the wait time between AstraZeneca doses saw a rush on appointments, with 14,000 people making AZ bookings yesterday.
One of our biggest ever single days of bookings for AstraZeneca, 3 in 4 of those bookings was for someone under 40.
The source for more than half of today's 208 new cases is under investigation. Clusters are deepening around the western and northern suburbs, with more than 90% of active cases living there. There are also concerns about COVID-safe workplace compliance, with 2 construction sites, a distribution centre and a call centre all linked to developing clusters.
If you're an employer, check your COVID-safe plans and make sure you're doing everything you need to keep your workforce safe and to keep your business safe.
The government has hinted at some other plans in the works, including a home quarantine pilot for interstate travellers and safely reopening schools. Classroom ventilation assessments are about to get underway, and moving some classes outdoors for term 4 may be on the cards. Dana Morse, ABC News, Melbourne.
About 250 Victorian ambulance paramedics have so far declined to be vaccinated for COVID-19. Internal figures obtained by the ABC show 4.6% of on-road clinical staff from Ambulance Victoria have declined the jab. The AMA says vaccination should be mandatory for the sector, but the union says the figure is deceptive.
Paramedics are at the very front line of our healthcare system, and it's critical that they are protected so that they're not going to contract this very serious disease in their workplace. And of course, even more important, that paramedics don't give the virus to any of their patients.
It doesn't really go into any detail about why. It may just be that some people are waiting for a period of time, or they've had medical advice otherwise.
Ambulance Victoria also says while some are refusing, more than 80% have already received 1 or 2 doses. The news of a pilot home quarantine program for Victorians stuck in New South Wales has raised hopes for many eager to get home. One union says dozens of its stranded members have had their applications to return home rejected multiple times, including one case where urgent medical care is needed. Here's Andrea Nierhoff.
After more than a year of treatment for pancreatic cancer, Marianne Allen and her husband Ross decided to have a holiday and visit family interstate. When the Victoria-New South Wales border closed, the fully vaccinated pair thought having letters from Marianne's doctors would be enough to return home to continue treatment. It wasn't.
We know that exemptions are given, but we didn't realise that they were being so unreasonable about granting them.
This isn't about, financial support. This is about getting people home. This is about getting parents back to children, partners back to their partners, carers. Some of these people are carers for other people, and those people need them to return home.
We'll all get together on Sunday. We're opening doors, singing.
Stuck in Sydney, actor Andrew Caution has missed out on work on both sides of the border.
I'm just one person of a whole industry, and I'm sure there are other industries in similar situations that are not getting allowed entrance, and all they want to do is go home.
I know it's very deeply frustrating for people to be in another state wanting to come home. I don't want people locked in their houses, and I don't want people locked out of their state. For
people like Ross and Marianne, though, every day counts.
We're dealing with people's lives here. Time's precious and time's short.
Andrea Niehoff, ABC News, Melbourne.
Another 12 people have died with COVID and more than 1,400 infected in New South Wales. But there's better news north of the border. A little boy stranded in New South Wales for 8 weeks has flown into Queensland on a charity flight to be reunited with his mum. In a heartwarming scene, 3-year-old Memphis Francis ran across the tarmac at Brisbane's Archerfield Airport into the arms of his mother, Dominique Facer. He'd been stuck in a hotspot while visiting his grandparents' farm. His story captured hearts and drew community criticism about a lack of compassion. Yesterday, an exemption allowed him to fly in on an angel flight.
We are so excited to get him home. His father is just over the moon.
The grandmother was on the plane with him but was immediately sent back home.